Hey, good evening, guys. Kenneth Tortoise Capital. This is the Creativity 202 check-in for October 3rd, 2023. For some of us, theoretically, it's the end of the course, but it's not really ever the end of this course. Just like kudzu, it just keeps going. And it overflows the banks of the river, what can we say, with that which promotes growth. So I'm doing pretty well here. I got a little bit of a abdominal strain, I think, from the weight workout yesterday down at KU Med. I got a little froggy and overestimated my fitness. At first, I thought it was a kidney stone, but it was on the wrong side of my abdomen, so it just hurts when I twist. So could have been worse. But that's going pretty well. I'm through 2 weeks and starting to get itchy for more. That's probably a good sign. Jeff, why don't you give us a quick check-in? How are things up there? The fire season coming to a close? Over.
Yeah, I'm actually sleeping in my own bed again. So I got home Saturday night, and I've just been receiving all the other guys that are coming in. So the last pilot just landed a couple hours ago, and we have one aircraft left out in Idaho. One of my pilots had a family emergency and had to rush home to take care of that. So I'll go get that thing sometime this week. But yeah, you don't even know how nice it is to sleep in your own bed until you don't do it for 4 months.
Yeah.
So everything's great.
Yeah, there's something about that cool sheet. Oh my goodness. And everything feels right. Yeah, we swapped out we got a Tempur-Pedic mattress, and when I was in for surgery, Linda took the opportunity to swap that out. It was time anyway, because it was starting to get a divot from my fat butt. Boy, was that ever nice to lay down on that with a cool sheet and my pillow. Oh, heaven. In that nice silent room. Wow. Art, how you doing, sir?
All good here. Yep, staying busy, staying off the streets. Dogs are good, family's good, and yeah, everything's looking pretty shiny.
Very good. Good to hear. And Dan, how are you, sir?
Oh, pretty well, pretty well. I got back from a 2-week trip overseas to Ireland where I'd never been before. So that was exciting. One more checked off the bucket list. Nice to get back to my own bed, as you say, and nice to get back to my dog and my wife, and not necessarily in that order. Definitely not in that order, but it was nice.
Yeah, good save.
Yeah.
Good save. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the tones and move us into the sacred circle, and we'll get on with our little ritual storytelling. And here we go. Jeff.
Can't hear anything.
Can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me and see the screen? It's a document. Okay. Yeah, so I'm actually on lesson 30, and I certainly wouldn't say that I'm completing the course, but I can say that I've done work in all 30 lessons. I think there's still work to be done in all 30 lessons. But I will say my creativity is humming. That's kind of the one of the first lines in the lesson is how to get your creativity humming, but I've been very productive lately. And I've also noticed that I see creativity every day, everywhere in the world. And before I started this course, I didn't see it. It was there, but I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't define it as creativity. But I've actually started using many things that I've learned in the last 30 weeks are just becoming part of our daily routine in our business. And there's been a very noticeable difference from, not from me, but from the people I interact with, that they like it. So the first part of lesson 30 explains how you can exponentially enhance your creativity by bringing more than one person in to think about a problem. And it says that humans evolved as social animals, so our brains evolved to function in tandem without the need for explaining it to anybody. Our brains just know instinctually how to combine, and the natural process can be optimized. Of course, we've learned some techniques in this course. But I thought about the ignition phase when you bring a new team together. First, you have to trust each other, and everybody's nervous, but then the stress goes away and everybody gets involved in the project and it starts to work. And it recommends in the lesson, accept everything that comes at you in the beginning in the creativity phase, say yes, and gather all your information, all the perspectives and insights and ideas. And then I thought about the acceleration phase. Acceleration is just my own word, but take the ideas, and then obviously you're going to have counter arguments of why that might not be the best solution, and you're going to tweak it and develop quick tests. That's from the lesson, to transition from creativity into innovation. And we need a lot more of that. I spend my life in meetings where people literally don't understand the difference between talking about the work that needs to be done and then going and actually accomplishing and completing that work. A lot of the people I interact with every day think that their work is done when we finish talking about it, but somebody has to go carry that out. So I was thinking about the idea of a team with 3 to 5 members. That was also, I think they said 3 or 4 in the lesson. That really resonates to me because that tactical team has been where I've lived for the last 30 years. I don't really want to be in charge of 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 people. I really think there's magic in those small groups. You can accomplish 10 times more than you should be able to, but you get 100 people and your productivity per person goes down. And we see that because I merge my team with other teams, and pretty soon we have 100 people working on the same project, and you don't get that exponential growth. The small team, I think, is easy to ignite. You can get them moving in the right direction pretty quickly. And I think 5 members gives you enough perspectives and insights if you have the right 5 people. And then I think put a time limit on it, set a deadline. Best solution wins. We're not looking for perfect solutions, although occasionally we stumble upon them. They seem like they're perfect, but good enough for now. It's one of Ken's terms, and I think that's what we're really looking for, is just to continue that forward momentum, because this problem we're thinking about today will maybe superseded in the morning by the next problem that we have to think about and solve. One of my aha moments, I listened to a lot of Ken's recordings this week, as I do pretty much every week. Instead of watching the Wednesday night movie, I tune in to Ken to see what new insights have happened this week. But the idea of maximum sustainable rate of learning, and you look at the traditional university model where a student goes for 4 years, they come out with a degree and a lot of knowledge of the head, but they have no experience whatsoever, But if you attend the classes while also working in your chosen field at the same time, then you have the knowledge and experience. You have 4 years of knowledge and 4 years of experience, which I value very highly. And after the 4 years, I think you might have the knowledge of the head, the heart, the gut, the hands, and the feet, which would give you a huge edge over the person who just has the knowledge of the head from the traditional school. I was also thinking this week about the idea of willing your way through something, which is my go-to from the time I was a child. I just had that ability, even though I hate the idea of what I have to do. There's 10,000 things I'd rather do. I just will myself through it. But the problem is that takes a lot of energy. You know, even if you're able to do that, you can't sustain it for months and months. It's kind of the just do it attitude. And I've said that to many of my guys after the 5th question. I'm like, just do it. It's not going to get any easier. You just got to do it. But through the course of this class, I've realized the value of developing processes, procedures, and systems which turn a difficult task into just standard routine work. And we have lots of those in our daily business. I just didn't realize how valuable they actually were. And the idea, a new idea for me is how much the systems simplify and support your daily efforts. You don't have to will your way through it anymore because you have a process that you've practiced, and it almost becomes unconscious effort. I was watching that this summer, I was watching our standard daily work routine, and everybody just knows where to be, how to be, and what to do. And nobody talks to anybody. It just happens. And the only reason it happens is because we have those systems and processes and procedures in place. Dan talked about his bucket list. I discovered the idea of a reverse bucket list this week, and I'd never heard it put that way before. But as part of a daily process of gratitude, Ken talks about that, and that's something I certainly need to do as much of as I can, because I'm usually forward focused on the next thing that has to be done, the next work or whatever, and I think most Americans are. But I don't think you ever want to never forget how far you've come, you know. So if you have 10 things that you think back, just write down 10 things that you've done in your life that you're proud of. It keeps things in perspective. So now I know how far I've come. I know where I am now, and I know which way the path is leading me, but I don't know where I'm going. Honestly, all my life I've had big goals and big dreams, and you think that's gonna, you know, if I achieve that, then the journey will be over. That turns out just to be a quick stop for gas on the path of life, right? That big thing that you thought you just couldn't live without, now that you have it, there's always more path in front of you, right? So I think the journey just keeps going till I die, right? So I need to make sure I'm headed in the right direction. Jocko Willink, an unlikely ally for me. I never really thought that I would resonate as strongly with him as I have, but he's a very, very inspirational and intelligent guy. I wrote this down a couple of months ago, but I keep coming back to it. You know, your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. I think we need to be on guard for that, because especially with me, willing my way through everything tends to make the other people uncomfortable, because they're not made exactly like me. So I need to make allowances for that. And then the idea that your greatest weaknesses can become your greatest strengths means we don't need to fear our weaknesses. We just need to face them and identify them, and then we can work on those. And he has a whole speech about this that's pretty profound. I've also been thinking about the idea of the base camp along the path. I think I've just been hanging out in base camp most of the last 4 or 5 months with you guys. I mean, I've been doing my other daily work, but you know, you got the kitchen and the library and the dojo. It's kind of like our tinker base. We hang out there when we're not actually doing the work that we have to do. But you know, I'm at lesson 30. I think it's time for me to go out in the world and explore it, and then bring back what I discover, kind of like Ken talks about. The last video that I watched of Ken's, he talked about the beauty of a torque wrench and how he liked that. But that really resonated with me, because I was walking through the shop today. We're bringing the airplanes in, and the mechanics are all meeting me, and they want to know what's wrong with it. What do we need to do to it? And, you know, we use torque wrenches every single day. Without the torque wrench, my life wouldn't have been possible. You can't build an airplane without a torque wrench, because every one of those critical fasteners have to be torqued to the exact specification, or you don't get the strength and the flexibility you want. But I was thinking about how impossible it would be to try to assemble that airplane without a torque wrench. Like, how would you know? There's some mathematical formulas you can do if you know the length of the lever and the weight applied to it, or force applied to it. But yeah, the torque wrench is pretty awesome. And then I was thinking, you know, in our shop, we have some guys that are working on a turbine engine, super critical work, very tedious, very exacting. Only a few people in the country can do that. And then you have guys that are just assembling wheels. So you take two halves of a wheel, you stick them together, you put 10 bolts through them, you put the proper washers and nuts on them, and you use the torque wrench and you just torque them to spec, and you can just do that all day long, you know. But the question was, does it really have to be that difficult to make money trading? And I don't think for me it has to be difficult. Just be the guy that's assembling the wheels, just like Ken talks about making bowls. But after 700 trades, I asked myself, you know, what do I have? What's the least things that I have to be successful? I think the trade frame is the most important thing, because that's when you frame your trade, that's where you determine your entry, and that's where you determine your risk reward. You need an MMRB so that you can properly position size it and you know where you're going to get out. And then you just need a basic process for plan, prepare, execute, and assess. I think my rules should fit on one page. And I think a lot of people's trade plan, I was thinking about this on the flight home. So we have a 1-page flight plan. It's actually a half a page. It's half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and that's our flight plan. And we have to share that with air traffic control so they can coordinate our planned flight with all the other aircraft in the United States to make sure that we're not in conflict. But the flight plan is just 1/2 of a page. That doesn't mean that it's quite that simple, right? That plan changes, but I think in trading we need a simple plan, but I also think maybe we need a trading operations manual or something, which explains how to create the trade frame. Ken explains it over and over again, but maybe we need a simple plan, but we need an operations manual to follow to describe the patterns and the entries and exits and position sizing and all the rest of those things. But I need a plan that's simple enough to execute without error. I've noticed that the more complicated I make my plans, the more errors, human errors happen. So the simpler, the better. I really stressed out at the beginning of the summer when I lost my home computer setup, my office computer setup with 2 or 3 screens, and I went to the laptop. But honestly, I think with a simple plan, any computer will do, laptop, iPad, maybe even a smartphone if you're just swing trading. And I've forgotten, I tried to look it up real quick. I've forgotten what my word of the week was. But I hope that's what I got for you guys. You're muted.
I was thinking that's a pretty good coming home speech and a check-in back at the base camp. And recognizing the iterative nature of it. Yeah, the torque wrench speech just came to me like all good things unbidden. It was just like, oh yeah. And I've never given that little particular speech before, but when as soon as I heard it in my head, feeling coming up, said, oh yeah, well, yeah, obviously. And I could see where all the takeoff points. It's like the closest thing to that is the idea of the power takeoff shaft on a farm tractor, which the very first operating instruction is, remember, this thing will kill you if it gets half a chance. Like if you leave your hands loose or your clothing around it, it'll kill you dead in a really gruesome way. So yeah, it does work, and it's a little thing, but there's a tractor engine behind that thing, and it'll kill you dead. And that's really the same principle that connects to the water wheel in the mill. You know, that great big power takeoff shaft that's connected to the water wheel, which turned the mill. But you could also have it turn spinning jennies and anything else that you needed to bring water power to. You didn't even need steam. for that. It was a short move to go from that to the steam engine. Well, I'll just boil the water. Oh, okay, there you are. And yeah, so those simple tools are best. You know, the power of water, the whole water cycle just feels really worthy of study to me in every way. I mean, it's organic, you get the cycle, you get evaporation and rain in the mountaintop, and the spring runoff, and then the streams and rivers and fish and all that. The cistern irrigation, which allows us to create surplus, which allows us to specialize, which allows us to expand our outreach if we can be civilized through trade. And it just supports everything. So, you know, water power is there's something profound in there. Yeah, the idea of constant vigilance that comes through with Jocko's comment about your greatest strength is at times your greatest weakness. Like if you've got a go-to move that you always use at crunch time, and the other guy knows that, and he can put you in crunch time, how well has he prepared to handle you in crunch time? And what can you learn about his skills that might be available to him during your crunch time? Do you have any reason to believe that he has something prepared for your crunch time? You know, the badger defends his lair. Yeah, but there's no back door on that thing, or is there? And at some point at the mouth of that lair, that badger is going face to face with a cobra or some venomous snake that can get down that hole. And there you are. You know, it's a immovable force meets the irresistible object. And so how does that shape out? Do you have an exit from the back of that point of your lair or of your safe spot? And is that camouflage? So I think about those things all the time with respect to fat tails in planning, where your routine is good enough to handle the distribution of whatever variation you are planning for. So you got to know what the shape of the normal and the abnormal, but you got to have some sense of the furthest fat tail in both directions, and how much contingency planning is enough. Do you have more time? Then you haven't done enough. You know, I'm reminded of the flow chart that a musician did about practice. It said, have you practiced enough is the question. And it starts off with something like, are you awake? Yes, you should be practicing. Have you just finished practicing? Yes, you should get ready to practice, etc. And it kind of walks you through all of that to emphasize the importance of, you know, planning and preparation and proper practice, not just activity. Don't confuse activity with results. But I'm reminded of that when I see Jocko's commentary, that in the critical state, the thing that you have been always relying on is itself just a tactic and has a performance profile too. And I remember talking with one of our greatest 4-star generals, a little old guy named Richard Cavazos, the first Hispanic 4-star general. He was a little ragbag. He was the opposite of, you know, a tall country squire, gentleman, Caucasian, Douglas McGregor kind of 4-star. He was a little guy, an infantryman, an infantryman's infantryman. And after he retired, he probably served even in a more powerful way as a trainer in field units. And I remember following him around when he was with us, and he would just talk about the simplest of things, like, where do you put your machine guns, Lieutenant? If you are trying to optimize the performance of the machine gun, then you find something like a great big flat open space like a parking lot that's 1,000 meters of uninterrupted view, completely flat, so that you can achieve grazing fire, which is uninterrupted fire 3 feet off the ground out to 1,000 meters. And anything that crosses that is dead. And so if you're trying to optimize the characteristics of the machine gun, that's where you put it, and you organize around the system. And he said, well, where does the enemy attack? He always attacks up the draw, up the little creek bed, so he can sneak into your position 50 meters away to make the final assault. He says, if you want to kill guys with machine guns, then you got to place the machine gun where he's going to be, which means that you have to think your way through a larger frame of where is he going to attack, because all the dummies attack across great big open fields where it's easy to control large formations. And so you either kill them right away, or they're going to learn to go where you can't kill them with grazing fire. In other words, find the broken terrain and the little valleys and stuff. And or they're lucky and they just happen to find themselves in that draw and they're able to sneak up into you, and then they learn from that. So where you're going to kill the most guys with machine guns is by putting it at the top of a draw, so as he comes slithering up in one big long single file of infiltration, you let him get up to within 50 meters of your machine gun, and then you fire down the length of that line, and he has no place to go because the walls of the, it's like Mowgli using the riverbanks to trap the tiger and crush him with the water buffalo. And so he was just full of little insights like that. And the other one that I'll share with you is when he said, the best plan is the one that preserves freedom of action to the commander the longest. That both commanders have a reserve that is available to use if things go wrong with the plan. And the guy who commits his reserve last is probably the guy that's going to win. So a good enough plan with a lot of adaptability and flexibility and subsequent decision points that allows you to learn from an evolving situation were the kinds of plans that tend to work best. And on the front end, it always looks a little inefficient. You say, well, why are you not committing the whole force in that way that's obviously the correct way? Is it really the correct way? Or is that what he's showing me? Or is that what I discovered and he doesn't know that? So you're always in that position of trying to figure out, what does he know? What can he do? What else does he have? Where are his forces that I have not accounted for? And so that, Cavazos reminded me a lot of that comment about Jocko Willink that you pointed to. And that was, you always have to ask the next question and continuing to turn the little prayer wheel of planning and prep. The flywheel effect of that is what generates the instantaneous power takeoff that allows you to respond to any kind of surprise. It gives you the juice that fuels your creativity engine. And then if you know the techniques that we've been working through, then you have that automatic toolkit that's just ready to go, and it just jumps into your mind without even thinking about it because you've internalized it through lots and lots of practice. So those were some of the things that occurred to me, and that's my time for my work in progress this week. I'm remembering General Cavazos. We went through a renaming of all of the Army installations this year as a function of can we finally get rid of all these tributes to the Southern slave-mongering revolutionary terrorists that started the Civil War? Can we just do that and stop honoring these guys, these traitors? And part of that came with an affirmative renaming of all our major installations. And Cavazos is one of the generals that got an entire important training post named for him. But I just remember him as a little old ragbag, about 5'4", 5'5", in a little nondescript army rain jacket, tromping around through the rain at 5 and 6 in the morning, talking to soldiers about things that would keep them alive and hopefully fight and win. So that resonates with your idea about the minimum mission essential items. What are the things that I have to get going? And I think that's a pretty good list. The trade framing, I think, is everything. And I would precede that with, before you even walk into the workshop and sit down at the desk to begin laying out, it's the mindset that you bring to it, which to me is the speech on the ruthless risk management. That's what I would add to that. I just watched an 80-minute video today, a guy named Terry Kim, who is a bespoke cobbler who recorded his entire process of making hand-tooled luxury boots. And he didn't say a word for 80 minutes, and there wasn't any wasted motion, and you could see exactly what he was doing in every step of the way, and it was just magnificent, to include about 80 minutes in when he stops to play with his dog. Terry Kim, K-I-M. I'll send the link to you later, but it was just, boy, it was just good. So, Aho. All right.
So good to be here. I haven't seen you guys in several weeks, I think. Like I said, things been going good. Been busy. Was singing, that started back up, and work's been keeping me busy. I think on my self work, I'm slowly beginning to wake up, ever so slowly. But the main thing I wanted to share today was Monday I took my first 2 forex trades with live money ever, and I'd funded my account almost a year ago, I think. Yeah, over a year ago, and basically it just been on and off trading in a demo account and doing some practice. And anyway, so they started assessing my account a fee, and that I felt was kind of the universe nudging me forward. So I did it Monday, and I kind of liked it. And I think that just the experience, well, the thing I wanted to say about it is that for the first time ever, I think I kind of just looked at it more of an experience, and just kind of was able to observe how I was reacting a little bit. I think that's come with my ability to wake up a bit. But my feelings of fear and euphoria, because I mean the first one went with me. I actually was a winner, I guess, and the second one was a loss, but I came out that win for the 2 trades. But I liked it, and the other thing that I observed was, for whatever reason, when I was doing that, I could hear RJ's voice in the back of my head going, "Notice your thoughts and feelings, notice your thoughts and feelings," from that Peak 101 course. Strange. But I like that. And then this coming Saturday, I'm going to take, I signed up for Bill's MBR momentum workshop. So I'm going to do his momentum system on the monthly rebalancing. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I mean, I really like the check-in. So I don't know how this works, or if it does it all moving forward, or you just wait till you have another complement of students or something to start up another class. But that's all I have to share. But thank you all.
Well, there's no time limit on the course. And so Tuesday nights and Sunday mornings, in those 2 time windows, is when we meet to check in and talk about the work in progress on whatever lesson you're on or whatever you have to check in about whenever you have things that you either want to say or listen to because it feels correct. There's no schedule where you have to talk or not talk or show up or not show up. But at those 2 appointed places and times, you're going to find people that are in the course that share this frame of reference and who are ready to talk about their own work in progress, whether it's the first time they've been through the course or the 7th time they've been through the course, like I have been. I got more things to say now on each check-in than I ever had before. It's a reinforcing feed-forward loop in that you plant corn and you save some of the seeds to plant more corn. You sell some corn and you eat some corn and you trade some corn, but you plant more corn. And it's kind of like that. So any Tuesday night or Sunday morning, when the time is right and you can trust your inner guide when that's the right time, work it at the pace that is right for you. And so there's no expectations about, well, you have to do it this way. You do it the way you do it because that's what creativity says you should do, is just trust that inner guide. And so that's how it works going forward. There's a couple guys from this last email blast from VTI that have signed up for creativity. They have no idea what they're in store for. I've sort of already apologized to them, saying, well, you're in it now, so sorry about that. But we're here to help you. So that's what I would say. We got to be ready for that. Is at your pace and doing it the way you're doing it. Like a lot of times you send me emails because the timing is right and that mode feels correct for you. That's a perfect way to do it because that's right for the moment. So I trust that.
Okay.
But then the check-in is also perfect when you do it that way too. You can't do it wrong. It's like playing the drum. You just play it, and then that just happened, and then kind of off you go. So that's how we do it going forward. You got unlimited access to the materials, and there's more goodies in the check-ins from the last 7 cohorts than a guy could probably listen to. You figure 30 lessons times 90 minutes, that's 45 hours per cohort of just check-ins. And 45 hours times 7 cohorts, that's 300 hours of just works in progress of various types. And no 2 of them are the same. And there's a mix and match. Some of them, everybody's on the same lesson, and some of them aren't. And it really doesn't matter that much because we're here to give testimony about the thing we were working on in the trusted circle of craftsmen, the little cobblers of trading that we are. And that's what I was trying to explain to the new guys. I said, look, and it was the foundations course. Actually. So the foundations course is designed that you could get through the recorded lectures with about 2 hours a week of listening. But if you listen to the 1,000 hours of feedback, now suddenly in 10 weeks, that's 100 hours a week if you wanted to get through 1,000 hours in 10 weeks. Okay, so you can't do that. That's 14 hours a day of listening to all those. So it's the problem of abundance. Yeah, that's exactly right. At the other end of that large tsunami of information, pay close attention to what Jeff said, and that was rendering it down to the mission essential elements. Like if you look at that little badger spirit shaman priest craftsman warrior in my background right there, he's got a little round true storytelling craftsman circle where he's getting ready for tomorrow's existential battle. And he's got everything he needs inside that little circle of preparation because he has a good plan, he knows what he's about, and he knows what he needs to have for tomorrow. So you got to learn how to trust that and make that distinction. You got to have base camps and equipment rooms and all that other stuff. But you also got to be able to render it down to those minimum mission essential items too. So that briefs well. It's hard in practice, but then life is hard in practice. You know, that's where plans break down, is in practice. So we got to learn to overcome that and to remain resilient. And part of that is the energy that comes from two things. One is the will to prepare, and you get that from your source of motivation for why you're trading, what you're trading for. What are the ends that this is the means of? And then partnering with that is an equally powerful ruthless risk management mindset, which says, regardless of the uncertainty, I'm coming at it strictly with first principles thinking about managing risk at all times. So those two things, the indefeatable will and then the ruthless risk management, is the precondition for going into that little battle circle, that prep circle that the trader is using to be ready for the particular trade tomorrow or the next trade, or that little zero state that he's in. That thing is a round circle for a reason. And that's an edge that people can't understand until they've gone through the 700 trades and seen all the ways it can go right and all the ways it can go wrong and all the surprises and all the confirmations of things. You know, the 700, taking 700 hits and 700 rounds with the champ. There are things that you know from that you can only get that way. You know, the man who picks up a cat knows something about cats that others don't know. You know, that you can only learn by trying to pick up a cat. To misquote Mark Twain there. So that's what I would say is the the path ahead is that mindset and the effortless action, the way. If I was going to say there was a third mindset, it was that striving for way, which is the effortless action, meaning that you have trimmed away all the non-essentials, focused only on the harmonious essentials, and arranged them in such a way that it feels effortless because there's no wasted motion and you can breathe with the process. You know, those would be the three mindsets that I think of. Never quit because of what you're trading for, ruthless risk management, and then the aim of mastery as expressed through way, which is your assessment of how you're doing. I just did that thing that I did. Was that effortless action? What was effortful? Okay, then I got some work to do there. You know, what actions didn't I take? Oh, then I have action, then I got to do some more other things. What actions weren't valuable? I got to trim those. So that's that driving force on the assessment of action after the fact that connects you to the next iteration, is that mindset of we want it to be effortless action so that we can endure the journey of 10,000 miles. So aho.
Thank you.
Dan.
Well, I think I'll be brief tonight because it's first time back after a few months, and I hadn't prepared anything for the lesson, which lesson I didn't know which one we'd be on. So, but it's very interesting to listen to you guys. One of the things about this class is just listening to what my colleagues say, because there's so much great content here. My own work in progress at the moment. I mentioned I've been on this trip to Ireland. It was a tour, and I was traveling for almost 2 weeks. And that's interesting in that it sort of pushes your buttons. Once you get to be in the kind of lifestyle that I have, which is many days are pretty much the same, just staying home with the wife and the dog and the computers. And you kind of get set in your ways. And so when you have to go with a group and get up at a certain time and be on the bus, that sort of pushes your buttons. And that caused a lot of sort of little psychological issues that you'd think you'd get rid of after having gone through a good piece of the Super Trader program. But then when I went through the Super Trader program, I spent the 2 years focusing a lot on trading and taking all the trading courses I could, and not focusing on the psychology as much as Dr. Van Tharp would have wanted me to. And so I'm still making up for that, I guess, through, the community we have here. We talk about psychology as well as trading, and through Libby Adams' program that I'm working with, where I keep going round and around this 28-day program that she has. And I got through it again. There's some times where I take a big break in between 28-day segments, but you come back to it for sustainability, to sort of sustain your psychological progress. But this time when I got through it again, I really felt like I made a big breakthrough on the psychological, you could say the spiritual level, in that I was able to develop a simple method to get to what you might call the zero state, where you're connecting with that higher power. I think of it as God, to feel that infinite sense of love and peace almost every time. So that was very huge for me. And I think I can build on that. The other thing that going away for 2 weeks did was, as it does when you sort of leave all those routines behind, in this case, the trading routines, because I'd been trading a few days a week. I've been doing first I'd been doing the 30-minute swing trading, and then I was doing the applied system development with Philip and Griffith. So I was trading the 3-minute now, and this one was very different. Instead of looking at that list of 30, you'd be looking at 1 or 2 or 3, or ideally just one, unless it wasn't moving, and then you might look at another. But you're trying to take as many trades as possible, because that's how you get the expectancy, taking some small wins, some small losses, until you're in for that large move. And now you can get more than 1 R gain. That seems to be the name of that game. And you see it so easily when you're paper trading. When you're doing it live, it's a little harder, because you have to be paying attention the whole time. You have to be focused. And so that's where this discipline is necessary, this minimum list of rules and practices that you're going to follow. Well, coming back after 2 weeks, I can see that I'm rereading my plans and taking stock. And I can see that I've got lots of plans. Not all of them are great, but I have lots of plans. And the type of analytical person I am, one who's done too much system hopping, and I'm not doing that anymore. But I have lots of plans, and so it is too complicated in a way to deal with it all. And so taking stock sort of is really a lot about, what is that minimum set of instructions that's going to get me there. So this week I just focused on what was actually making me money, which was selling options. I got caught up on all that, and I'm carrying all the risk I can carry because my rule for that is I only want to risk half of the profits I've had. So there's a number there that I can't risk over, and my risk is just what would happen if the bottom fell out of the stock that I sold options on. I had to close it and sell it. So I kind of ran out of runway on that and just wait for them to expire, and now turn back to the other systems and remembering what my objectives were for the RLCO systems. It's been, I want something that I can trade even if it's not a bull market, because everything else I have, except somewhat the option selling, depends on it being a bull market to make any money. So I'm going to be getting back to the RLCO again, rereading my plans. I did finish the applied system development course, which really gave me a lot better feel for what a good SSC, a good CD, a good Kata 2 should look like. And now sort of I have 2 ways to apply it. The 30-minute swing trading, which I had very good experience with, beta testing, if you will, before the applied system development course, and then the day trading, the chain trading. So I'll be back to that. First, though, the wife and I have our 40th anniversary this weekend, so we'll be going off to Brooklyn, where my son lives, and we'll be spending a little time there. But then I'll be back to it, and I'm glad to get reconnected with Creativity 202, to get a chance to share my work in progress with you, and most importantly, to listen. Aho.
Hey, I sent you a file on the 10 ox herding pictures, a little flashcard. If I can share my screen here real quick. Yeah, let me know when you can see that. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a sort of a Zen parable or practice that's been around for centuries. And it maps 10 specific states of the mind monkey as he goes through his relationship with consciousness or self-enlightenment. And it starts with you wake up and you say, hey, I don't have the ox. I don't have mindfulness. I don't have my calm harmonious self-awareness. So you start searching for the ox everywhere. I used to have it, now I don't have it, and I want it. So you start on this journey of searching for the ox. And then you go everywhere and try everything, and eventually you sense the ox. You find some footprints, maybe you hear him stomping around in the swamp, running amok. You see the birds. The cicadas are chirping. And you stay persistent, and then there comes a moment when you see the ox in all his power and majesty and untamed energy. Wow, the ox. There he is. And then you catch the ox, which is non-trivial, but it's getting that guy under positive government control. Be careful on that one. He got horns and stompy feet. And then you tame the ox. And now he's disciplined and back under your guidance and control. And then you ride the ox home. So now it's you and the ox. And now there you are on this powerful beast full of capability and teamwork, and you're heading home. And then you are able to forget the ox and just think about yourself, because you're in a natural condition of riding the ox, and you take care of riding the ox while you are just reflecting on your own self. And then you forget both yourself and the ox, and that's that little symbol of the endo, where you are perfectly situated as part of the landscape, nothing more, nothing less, everything natural, unforced, a perfect state of wu wei, if you will. And then the ninth picture says, and then you even forget that and you return back to the everything else. In the eighth one, when you forget yourself and the ox, you're just kind of aware of all the everything else. And then in the source, you don't even think about that. You're just in the river and in the warmth and pure feeling and total connection. The 10th one has an important place in a lot of Buddhist traditions, because it doesn't just stop there at sort of nirvana, but it says you've come back to the human marketplace of everyday life, but improved as a result of going around the horn like that. And then the ox is with you, you're with the ox, you're in the world, you're supported by the source, everything is correct, and you find a natural way to be with everyone in a natural way, until you look at, hey, where's my ox? And then you start thinking about it again. So this is what happens in this cycle of separating cognition from feeling, from being, when you start adding time dimensions to the integrated experience. And so this cycle continuously maps. Well, I went through this repeatedly as a focal point in my surgery rehab as I was going through the life audit theater, was to make sure that I was accounting for where I was on the clock. And I see this as a clock face. And even when I'm in the tactical world of the KU Med cardiac gymnasium and I'm working on some things, I've sort of internalized every one of those states. And as I'm going in a certain rhythm, I'm trying to just move from picture to picture every 4 steps that I take. Search for the ox, sense the ox, see the ox, catch the ox, tame the ox, ride the ox, forget the ox, forget myself, in the source, back in the world better. And then I do 10 more reps of whatever machine I'm on. But I'm trying to get the reps tuned to that cycle of awareness, to sort of a mantra of that process. So I offer that as a way to think about, in some ways, the creativity course is kind of like that in the sense that there are 6 categories of exposure to the basics of creativity that go through progression to the point where on the 30th one, you're figuring out how to scale it and apply those tools and just learning to trust the inner nature of your creative mind that you already have. In some ways, that's kind of like the ox. So I think about this as a process focus for me. There's a good, the first book that sort of defined that was D.T. Suzuki, who did the paintings and got the guys organized around it, and then Yamada Minori's commentary on it. There's some really good extended and also short, tranquil, serene commentaries on YouTube that are part of my walking path, and listening to the unhurried readings of commentaries by the Buddhist masters from the 15th and 16th century in an unhurried voice that kind of walks you through all of the stages. And there's an extended one which reads multiple commentaries that takes about an hour to listen to each picture. So that's about 10 nights of walking when I take the long version. And then there's one that lasts about 50 minutes where she just reads the opening stanza and the description of the picture from the original Minori commentary. And that's a perfect short one night complete refresher. And that has helped me internalize both the short form and the long form. And then I listen to the one that I need. And then I just incorporate this into my daily practice in the gym as a way to focus the mind on exactly what I'm doing. I'm not trying to forget that I'm walking on the treadmill, but I'm trying to pace myself on the treadmill so that my mind can properly and smoothly and in rhythm state the phrase for each picture in order, and that tells me that my mind body is orderly and that I'm not rushing it. If I'm walking too fast, then I forget which one I'm on, or I'm not in rhythm, or I lose track of it. So that I use that sort of as a timing chain, if you will. Anyway, that's that's my work in progress this week, is the documenting the 10 ox herding pictures and how I use them at various times. So aho to that. I'm going to ask you to listen to the tones and listen for the word that comes bubbling up for the week or the next leg of your journey ahead, whether that's a week or a month or until the next time we see you. So listen carefully for that focusing word. Jeff.
Ratchet.
Cycles. Sorry.
Oh, Dan.
Cycles.
It's amazing how long that tone will last if you give it time. And Art.
I'm going with gratitude for progress.
Mine is Wu-Wei, effortless action. All right, fellas, that's everything we got for tonight. I'll get this recording published and posted in the C202. And again, encourage you to find the right level of engagement with the material. And, every Tuesday night and Sunday mornings, you'll know where to find your Goom buddies. I would also say we do a True Story Circle just for work in progress for among friends, and the only thing we can't talk about is trading. We do that on Saturday mornings at 8:30, and the only thing you're not allowed to talk about is trading, for crying out loud. And it's it's in a different link than this one. It's in the Owl Wisdom group, and it's really kind of focused on living and health and and stewardship and friendship. You'll see a lot of traders in there, but there's other folks too. And you know, more than happy to have you there. I'll send you a link if you're interested. And again, that's one of those. Whoever shows up, that's who talks. And if you show up, you don't have to talk. We just ask you to listen. You know, in the same way that we have learned to listen. And it's a pretty good group of guys.
Please send the link. I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll shoot it off to you. I
Thanks.
like it at 8:30 in the morning because then when I'm done, I head over to the soccer field in the right state of mind. It's good for me to do that.
I had a question about another of your weekend groups, the Foundations Q&A. Is that only for new foundation students, or
Nope.
is it for anyone that's
Anybody that's bought the course, there's lifetime
Okay.
access. That is Sundays from 10 to 11.
okay,
Or wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. That's 9 to 10.
9 to 10 Sundays?
Creativity is 10 to 11
Okay.
Central. That way there's a limit to how much we talk about there. And because of us, I'll go forever. And then the other foundations is Tuesdays 7 to 8 in this room. So foundations is Sunday morning and Tuesday night for office hours.
Okay.
And then creativity is Sunday morning and Thursday evening. As it stands right now. Okay.
And they're on this same link?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Just keeping it simple.
Yeah.
I will tell you if you haven't been in the foundations lately, the last 3 or 4 Q&A sessions have just been off the chart. I mean, holy mackerel. It's almost amazing just to be in the room listening to me. I surprise myself sometimes. The ruthless risk management, the adult learning model, continuous improvement, true storytelling, story science, and our technical body of knowledge really has come together in that format, and the foundations is pretty cool. So anyway, fellas, that's everything I got. I'm gonna close her up so this can process and get it posted, and then I'll be ready in about 16 minutes for the nightly show.
Right.
So take good care.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Guys.
guys. Yeah.